The Warhounds, later known as the World Eaters, were the 12th Legion of the Space Marine Legions created during the Emperor of Mankind's genetic experimentation. Formed to bring unity to the fractured remnants of humanity, the Legion was known for its savage combat style, prioritizing shock and awe on the battlefield. Under the later influence of the Primarch Angron, the Warhounds would become synonymous with bloodshed and brutality, ultimately falling to chaos and dedicating themselves to Khorne, the chaos god of blood and skulls. The 12th Legion's recruitment during the Unification Wars drew heavily from Terra, with candidates selected not based on region, but through a psychological pre-screening process designed to identify the most aggressive and combative individuals. This experimental selection method aimed to create a force known for ferocity and resilience, traits that would define the Legion's early history. Their first recorded engagement was the Saafrik Liberation, where their relentless assault tactics became their hallmark. Despite their growing reputation, the Warhounds were primarily held in reserve, potentially as a countermeasure against any disloyalty that might arise during the Emperor's campaigns. The name Warhounds was bestowed upon them by the Emperor himself as recognition for their tenacious pacification of the Sephic hives during the later stages of the Unification Wars. With a red hound as their insignia, the Legion embodied fierce loyalty and feral aggression. They operated as a shock force, excelling in annihilation assaults and fortified breaches. These qualities made them invaluable during the Wars of Unification, but their unchecked savagery also earned them a reputation for unpredictability and collateral devastation. Prior to their reunion with their Primarch, the Warhounds maintained a rigid and austere organizational structure. Discipline within the Legion was harsh, enforced by a strict hierarchy of officers and rigorous punishment for any insubordination. This was necessary to temper the naturally fractious and hot-blooded recruits. The Legion's military doctrine revolved around overwhelming frontal assaults, where speed and sheer aggression overwhelmed enemies before they could effectively counter. These tactics relied on ferocity rather than finesse, emphasizing direct and decisive combat over prolonged engagements. Their philosophy was one of total domination. The Warhounds believed that victory was best achieved by breaking an enemy's will through the absolute and visible destruction of their forces. This often meant inflicting disproportionate casualties on both sides. While this doctrine ensured success in many campaigns, it also created friction with the other legions and Imperial commanders, who saw the Warhounds as blunt instruments better suited to total annihilation than nuanced compliance missions. The Warhounds' reunion with Angron marked a turning point for the Legion. Discovered on Nuceria, Angron was a traumatized and enraged figure, shaped by years of enslavement as a gladiator and the implementation of the Butcher's Nails, devices that drove him to uncontrollable fury. Unlike other Primarchs who elevated their legions, Angron's arrival led to an era of extreme change and internal strife. He renamed the Warhounds the World Eaters in honor of his fallen gladiators, the Eaters of Cities. Angron demanded that the Butcher's Nails be replicated and implanted in his Astartes, transforming the Legion into an army of bloodthirsty berserkers. The discipline that once defined the Legion was replaced with unrelenting violence and gladiatorial traditions. During the Horus Heresy, the World Eaters quickly sided with Horus. The Primarch's disdain for the Emperor, rooted in the perceived betrayal on Nuceria, made Angron an easy ally for the War Master. The World Eaters were instrumental in several pivotal battles, including the Drop Site Massacre at Istvan V, where their ferocity devastated the Raven Guard and Iron Hands. Their unrestrained bloodlust made them ideal tools for chaos, particularly in siege warfare and mass slaughter, culminating in their key role in the Siege of Terra. Angron, by this point a frothing avatar of rage, led his legion in unrelenting assaults on the Imperial Palace, embodying the Legion's total descent into violence. The aftermath of the heresy saw the World Eaters fully embrace their allegiance to Khorne. Their fractious nature, exacerbated by the Butcher's Nails, led to the fragmentation of the Legion after the Battle of Skalathrax, where Khorne the Betrayer slaughtered friend and foe alike. This event shattered the World Eaters into countless warbands, each a roving force of destruction dedicated to the Blood God. Angron ascended as a demon Primarch of Khorne, sealing the Legion's fate as eternal servants of violence. Without centralized leadership, the warbands spread terror across the galaxy, leaving ruin in their wake. The Warhounds began as a savage yet disciplined force of unparalleled shock troops, but their transformation into the World Eaters under Angron turned them into berserk instruments of chaos. Their fall to Khorne, driven by the Butcher's Nails and the Primarch's fury, ensured their place in the annals of the most fearsome and destructive forces in the galaxy. Today, the World Eaters exist as a fragmented warbands, united only by their insatiable thirst for blood and skulls, a tragic reflection of what they once were.